Hello. So here we have our Scene in a Barn kit. It's one of our Nook series and you know, one of our miniature series as such. This is how the pieces will come to you. So you've got some loose pieces like these pieces here, which are to build up the main body of the barn. These other pieces which build up the body of the barn have some pieces inside them that you need to pop out. And then we have this sheet which has all your detailed pieces which needs to be popped out. Now everything is just hinged. There'll be one little area where it's hinged, whatever the piece is. You see there, it's hinged there. There'll be one little area that catches it in there, so they shouldn't be difficult to push out. And my advice is push by the piece. So here, I don't know if you can see it in there, you can see there where the piece is, where it's caught, where it's held from. So my tip is to push, find that piece and then push there, and then the rest will come out. So I'm going to pop all these out and I'll be back. Okay, so you should now have these pieces that came out of these with the bits popped out of them, and your just a bit bigger than A4 piece with all the pieces popped out, and you can now discard these pieces. So these are the pieces you've been left with. So these will be my bits with this to build my barn, will be these pieces. These are my accessories, so I'll use them right at the end. This is the house bit that goes in the barn, or the top of the barn, my roof for my barn, and again this is the little house that you build for the accessories. So to start with, I'm going to build the outside bit of the barn together, and I'll deal with the accessories and that afterwards. So first thing I'll do is put them to one side. The roof, as much as it's part of the barn, that will be the last thing that I put on, so I will put that to one side. So I will start, these windows will glue on once the barn's done. Again, put that to one side. So we'll start with the main pieces for the barn. We will start here. So you've got three rectangle pieces. So this one with the least holes is your very bottom. This one with the square holes in is the top that you're going to build your roof piece off, and this bit with all of the holes and the circle pieces and that is your middle piece, because all of these gaps are where your accessories like your trees and that are going to go into. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to build up this bottom piece here. So these pieces here are all for the bottom. I will hover that over the hole, hover that over the hole, so I'm not pushing them all the way in yet. Hover that over the hole and hover that over its hole, and then now they're all kind of in place, we will push them all in together to make a nice tight fitting base. So that is your base piece done. So now you're going to take the one with all of the holes and these little semicircle bits, circle in there. This is the bit that's going to go on here, and you've got these bits going the second holes in, and then these sit in the end of these semicircles. Now our kits are generally made as a very snug fit. So in most cases it will mean you wouldn't need glue, or minimal glue is needed. And if you find, like there, when you're fitting the base, I was going to push these bits in and this was just leaning inward slightly. Well, of course I can't get my finger in there to push it over, so instead start with that side, which means this side is leaning out slightly, and then you can push it from the outside to align it with the holes. So just bear in mind which way you're pushing things from can make things fit in easier. bear in mind, if you're really forcing it, especially when it's this close to the edge, if you force it, you could split that edge. So if you're really struggling, just take a little bit of sandpaper to the tabs to make it easier for yourself. But everything should fit nice and snug, so that pretty much you don't need any glue. It will sort of hold itself. But that is why we say, with the majority of our kits, paint them after they are built, because these are really close fitting. Even a little bit of paint on them is going to change the way that they fit, and then you could struggle. Yes, you could sand it off afterwards, but the problem is once paint which contains moisture gets into the MDF, it does kind of change the consistency and the constitution as such of the MDF, and can make it difficult to fit. So our recommendation is always put it together first, then paint it. So that's that bit done. So that's it. We've pretty much got the base portion of our model done now. So now I'm going to fit the sides. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to fit the pieces together. So I am going to slot the smaller pieces into the larger pieces like this. And again, you can see that they're a snug fit. That's to make it nice and secure once it's built. So again, you don't necessarily need glue with this. However, bear in mind, these are thinner edges. If you have to really force it, just because you're not holding it quite straight, or perhaps your hands aren't quite as strong. Sometimes I struggle with the strength in my hands. If you're finding it difficult, just a little bit of sandpaper on the actual tabs, just to make them that tiny bit thinner, will help them fit in easier. It's better to do that than to either hurt your hands or break your model kit. Okay, and we're just going to pop these on all the way around. Right, so this will then fit on top like that. I'm not going to do that bit yet because I want to fit the bits inside here first without it being fiddly with my hands. Now if you want to fit this here at this stage, you can. I'm not going to, because I want to fit my inside bits first. I am also going to build up my roof now. So we have these pieces. I'm going to use a bit of glue on these just to help hold them together. But again, they'll fit snugly into the bottom bit, which will hold them together anyway. So that is, let's put a bit on the bottom as well, shall we? That is front. That's back. And bearing in mind that one side has got this detailing drawn on and the other side hasn't, so you want the detailing bit to face outwards. And then two sides. And again, if you don't quite push these in yet. And this one. So once you can slot it all together, you can push it in the rest of the way. Wipe any excess glue off. And that is, oh, we'll sand that off afterwards. That is your tower bit for your roof done. So then the next piece is these side panels are going to fit on the top. So a bit of glue, and don't worry about there being so many holes. You'll know where they've got to go because it leaves a nice edge on either side. If you go into the next hole along by mistake, one side will be overhanging, so you know which side, you know when you're in the right holes because it fits neatly on top. There we go. Okay, and then we're going to put this roof on this piece. So these are these little sort of square pieces, and you just pop them over their slots. And that is your roof on. Again, tidying up any glue as you go. Now, I'm using our own glue, and the good thing is with our glue is you can sand it down afterwards. So first thing is it dries clear, so any bits you can see now of the glue will dry clear, but you can sand it down afterwards if you want to. You can also paint over it, so it's a really good glue to use when you're sort of doing these projects. Now, some of these holes will have some of the accessory pieces in there. Some of these holes, like this one here for example, and these here for example, are for if you want to put lights through. So if you want to go from here, run it across, drop them down that side, that's what them holes are for. If you want to put in your base piece in there your battery switch, that's what these holes are for. Or if you want to be able to sort of run it through, that's what them holes are for. So there are some extra holes in the base and the top piece to help you maneuver lights across if you choose to use lights. I'm not going to use lights with this project, but if you choose to use lights, you've got some space to move them about. Okay, so now we're going to carry on with the roof. So you have these two pieces here, and they are your top pieces that go around your tower. And then the rest of the pieces just go randomly along the roof. So the first thing I'm going to do is just to make sure it's nice and secure, is just dab a bit of glue along here. Again, they'll fit quite snugly, so you don't necessarily need the glue, but it's good to perhaps have it on there. So I'm going to start with the bottom and work my way up, and you will see on this piece you have these little pieces here all the way up, and these little holes here slot over them pieces, and it does the same on both sides. Oh, does the same on both sides. If you get one side on, you can then wiggle the other side to get the other bit in. So I made the mistake to start with of trying to push both sides in, but obviously if it doesn't line up, it's not that easy. So get one side on so this side isn't on, and then pull off the one below it, and then get the next one on. So if I try and zoom in so you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, so I'm getting one side on, so push that one side on, and then I'm trying to line that up, and if I need to move this panel here, I can push it that way or that way until it's lined up, and then I pop that on, and that is the roof on, and it's already starting to sort of build up. And then another one here. Just pop that on there, and again, and you can get your finger through the window to pull it or push it in the direction you need to get that bit to line up, and pop it on. And then you need, when you get right to the top, you need one of these pieces, and you're going to carefully push it around the house, and again push one side on, and then line the other side up and push that on, and that is your roof fitted on one side. And then we're going to do the same on the other side. So starting at the bottom, push one side on, then the other side on, one side on, and then wiggle it until you got the other bit ready. One side on, other side on. Sometimes second side will go a bit easier because this side's already holding it in shape, but you still might get a little bit of movement, which means if that's the case, put your finger through the hole, pull it towards you or push it away from you, just to make this bit move a bit till it goes in, so you can push it on without you know, damaging the wood. Push next bit on, and again carefully round the top piece and pop that one on, and that is your roof piece done. That is your roof section completely finished. So let's zoom back out again. So I say completely finished, it's the roof section finished on it. So now these pieces are decorative pieces that fit in here just to sort of neaten everything up. And if you've painted this one colour, you'll find that most sort of barns, if you're going on sort of an American style barn, would have a different colour wood, you know, like wood panelling effect around it. So that's what this bit is for. So I'm going to use one of our acrylic blocks to put a bit of my glue on, and I'm going to dab the glue around, do this all around it. Okay, so this bit, being a thin bit, will have a bit of flex, but at the same time you don't want to snap it, so push it in, but push it in carefully. So I'm starting at the top here, I'm working down one side, and then I'm working down the other side, and I'm just pushing that in to create that bit there. And then I'm going to do the same again on the other side. I would paint this before you put it on, not because it's going to change the shape or that it won't fit, but if you've got this on and you're trying to paint that thin edge, you're likely to catch this. If you paint it like that, it doesn't matter if you go out the edges or that, it's just going to be onto your glass mat or your crafting mat. But it's not going to go onto any paintwork that you've done under here. And so then when you pop it on, it'll look really neat and tidy. And you won't have sort of any overlap. It's just to make it a lot easier for you when you're sort of painting. So that's that bit on there. So then now we have the windows to go on each side. So I'm just going to line that up over the hole. You can see it sort of fits over the hole. That's one side. And then I'm going to do it the same again the other side. Excuse me. And then I'm going to pop that in there. And unlike me, clean your hands in between so you don't get glue stuck on it. That is your top portion all done. So we now have the very bottom and the top portion done. Okay, so this piece here is what's going to go on here. Now, as you can see here, this side has some what look like screws there, and this has been designed so it looks like it fits in there and is being held on by them screws, but it's still a nice 3D effect, and means you can paint this a completely different colour without worrying about going over the edges. And you can try stamping on there or whatever you want to do on there to put some writing on before it goes on there. So for now I'm just going to glue it so that it's on there. But if I was decorating it, obviously I would decorate both the base and this piece before I put them together. Let's just try and make sure that's straight. Okay, and that's that piece there. So now we have the other accessory pieces. So the first thing I want to work on is this little house. So the little house goes around this hole. The reason there's a bigger hole there, there's holes here that you can thread lights up through if you want to. There's a bigger hole there if you want to put a bunch of lights through to light up the little house. Okay, so now we're going to put together the little house. So you've got the two main pieces and the two side pieces. All the little pieces here go towards the bottom and they slot together. I've added a little bit of glue onto them to hold them in place, but they will be held in place once they're on your model. Alright, so your little house is together. Now you've got one side that's got a door on and one side that's got windows. You need to decide which way you want that. And if you try to fit it this way, you will see it won't go over the holes quite properly. because the sides are a slightly different side to the front and the back. So it needs to be facing that way or that way. So just bear in mind where your door is and where you want it to go, and which is the front of your model base. So this is the front, so I'm going to have the door facing to that way. So I am going to push everything into its holes, and so there's our little house fitted onto our model base. And I am now going to fit the roof on. So I'll just turn it towards me, and a bit the same as the barn roof, do one side first and then move this other side until it slots in easily, and again here, one side on first and then the other side should fit relatively easy because this will be holding it apart. So that is your little house made on now. Okay, so then we've got this long fence piece with the trees on it. Now this has got 2 holes at the back here done. Now whether you fit it with the trees that side of the house or whether you fit it with the trees that side of the house is entirely up to you. I think because we're going to already have all these trees here in the foreground, I think I'm going to fit with the trees behind so that I can see more of the fence. And I'm going to put a bit of glue along here. And we're just going to push that in. And then we are going to have our little gate at the front. So that's that piece pushed in. Okay, and then we have got our little wood chopping piece here. And then where you put your trees is entirely up to you. I think I'll have one there. I think I'll have the lower one there. And I'll have the bigger one there. So now we have our trees here, which is good. And then we will fit this bit on top around it like that. So I'll add a bit of glue around here. And again, it's just about lining it up. Start to push it all in, but don't push it in all the way until you know it's all lined up. And then you can go back round and push it in all the rest of the way. And again, if you've got, if you've hands are slightly weaker and you're struggling to push it in a little bit, just a bit of sandpaper will make it better. So this is it from the back, one of the sides, and then the front. Okay, and now we're going to glue the roof on, and that will finish off our model and bring it all together. And don't forget there are spaces there for your lights. So if you don't want to glue the top bit, you don't have to, so you can lift the roof off afterwards. If you don't want to glue the bottom bit, same again, you can leave it, so you might decide you want to add lights later. And you're going to do a similar thing. You're going to line it up all the way around. You're going to push it in gently all the way around. So push it in like this all the way around. And then once you've got them all lined up, you can push from the top, and you'll see that pushes it all in together. If it doesn't, you can push from here. And that is your barn model